when he cried out to me with wide eyes, "Dr. Randy, there are more healings on my side of the bus than I have seen in my entire life. And this is only half of the bus. And there are 3 buses." He invited over 100 of Celebration Church's prayer partners the following year. 38 were able to come with us. That next year, in Fortaleza, Brazil, their team alone nearly filled one of our 4 chartered buses. The next major milestone in our journey together was when Frankie invited me to come to teach in his church for a weekend. Due to airline problems, I was not going to make it in time for the service's start. I called Frankie and told him this had happened at another church in Texas, and that he should study the training manual and lead the service that he had advertised. I would get there when I could, hopefully not more than a couple hours late. I told Frankie that God would back him up. Just step out and go for it. Frankie declined my advice. Instead, his church staff sent a mass text and email and blitzed social media, informing everyone that the service would start an hour late. I arrived after worship was over. They had extended it beyond the regular length to give me time to get there. What a night that was. Frankie accused me of teaching the information from 3 healing schools in one service. I really didn't do that, but I did want to help break Frankie through into the more of God. I came off the platform to where Frankie and his wife Allie were seated in the front row as I was speaking. I whispered in their ears, "In a few minutes, I'm going to invite you 2 onto the platform. I want each of you to give 5 words of knowledge for healing." They were shocked, but they knew I would do what I said. When I called them up, they stepped out in faith and gave the words. During this time, I sat in the front row and coached them on what to do when people responded to the words of knowledge, and coached them in the prayer ministry for healing. As a result, God was faithful and people were healed. Then I asked Frankie if he had trained any of his ministry team. He told me that he had, but they had never had the opportunity to give words in a worship service. So I invited the members of Frankie's ministry team to come forward, saying that God would give them words of knowledge and people would be healed when they prayed. Again, God was faithful, and people were healed through Frankie's ministry team. Frankie had seen about 30 or 40 healings in his church since Brazil. That weekend, we saw over 200 healings in 3 services. Since that weekend, they have seen healings take place in every service, not just in special healing meetings. Just as Frankie was, the 38 prayer partners had been powerfully impacted in Brazil. When they came home, they brought their faith to the local church. 3 people attended Frankie and Allie's first service when they launched their church in a small community center 13 years earlier. Now Frankie begins to do what I did with my church. I would take members out with me to be a part of the ministry team at other churches, where I would do training on healing and the gifts of the Spirit. Frankie discovered God's faithfulness to meet those who would step out in faith. He also learned how giving opportunities to the members of his church to heal would contribute to their growth in faith and how to co-labor with God. Frankie not only has a transformed life, he has a transformed church. Celebration Church was already a fast-growing church with 3 Sunday morning services. Now, though, ministry is so much more exciting for Frankie and the members of his church.